I thought the worst moment of my life was when Clara left. No yelling, no cheating, no dramatic exit, just a quiet, final I need space. The kind of sentence that feels like a pin dropping in a hollow house. That was 2 months ago. Since then, I've been existing, not living, fixing appliances round Boulder, Colorado by day, making mac and cheese for Lily by night. Our 5-year-old daughter is the only reason I still shave, still breathe, still remember to laugh sometimes. Then came the knock. It was a Sunday morning, quiet enough to hear Lily's cartoons humming from the other room. I opened the door, expecting a neighbor or a misplaced package. Instead, it was Sophie, Clara's little sister. We hadn't spoken much since the divorce. She used to come by with Clara sometimes, always the quiet one. Not cold, just gentle in a way that didn't need to announce itself. But that morning, she stood on my porch shaking, eyes red and cheeks streaked. "Sophie?" I blinked, my hand still on the door. "Are you okay?" She didn't answer right away, just stepped forward and held out a trembling hand. "She's in the hospital," she said. "Clara, she's sick. Ethan, it's leukemia." She didn't want anyone to know until it got bad. And now it's bad. I didn't feel my legs buckle, but I sat down on the step anyway, like my body knew something before my brain did. "What?" My voice cracked. "Clara's dying?" Sophie nodded, covering her mouth. "She's asking for you. And Lily." I looked toward the hallway where Lily sat in front of the TV, completely unaware that her world was about to tilt. My heart squeezed, not from betrayal or anger, but from something worse, grief laced with confusion. "She didn't tell me," I whispered. "I know," Sophie said gently. She thought distance would make it easier, that it would protect Lily. I stared at the pavement for a long second. Then I stood. "Give me 5 minutes." I packed Lily's little unicorn backpack with her coloring books and her favorite stuffed elephant. Told her we were going to see Mommy at the hospital. She didn't ask questions, just smiled and ran to get her shoes. The drive was quiet. Sophie in the passenger seat, hands fidgeting with the strap of her purse. I kept thinking about how fragile Clara looked the last time I saw her. I thought it was weight loss from stress. But now I wondered what she'd been carrying. Alone, we walked through the hospital corridors and knew the buzz of fluorescent lights. Sophie led the way to a private room tucked in the back. I wasn't ready. No part of me was ready, but I pushed the door open anyway. Clara was there, or some ghost of her. Pale, hair thinner, eyes sunken but still burning with something real. The moment she saw Lily, "Mommy." Lily squealed and rushed to the bedside. Clara's arms trembled as she opened them. Her voice broke like old glass. "Oh, baby, Mommy missed you so much." I stayed in the doorway. I couldn't move, couldn't interrupt, couldn't look away either. Sophie put a hand on my shoulder, grounding me. That was the moment everything shifted again, not because of tragedy, but because I realized I still had a choice: to harden, or to step back. And not for Clara, for Lily, for peace, for the version of love that doesn't need explanations. And I stepped in. The hospital became a second home over the next few weeks. I drove Lily there every afternoon after school. We'd stop by the same corner bakery, pick up her favorite lemon muffins, and carry them up to room 428, where Clara waited in a reclined bed with a frail smile and eyes that lit up the moment Lily stepped through the door. Clara wasn't the woman I once married. Not anymore. The fire in her had dimmed, but what remained burned clean: pure love for our daughter and a slow, painful recognition of all the things she'd walked away from. There were no apologies scripted or rehearsed, only moments, quiet, aching moments, like the one when Lily showed her a drawing she made in class, a picture of our house with 3 stick figures. Clara pointed and asked, "Who's that?" "That sent Sophie," Lily said proudly. "She helps with my hair now." Clara's hands trembled as she traced the crayon lines with her fingertip. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. I saw it all in her face. The joy, the sorrow, the quiet shame. Some nights, After tucking Lily in, I'd sit beside Clara. We rarely talked about the past. What was the point? But once, just once, she looked at me with glassy eyes and said, I thought I needed to find myself. Turns out, I already had everything. I didn't answer. I just held her hand. There was no anger left in me, only the dull weight of time and the silence of what-ifs. Sophie was always there too, like a shadow that warmed rather than cooled. She wasn't just showing up. She was holding the space no one else could, reading to Clara when her eyes grew too tired, braiding Lily's hair in the hallway, cleaning out Clara's fridge and bringing fresh pajamas. She never made it about herself. And slowly, I started noticing her, not like before, not as Clara's younger sister, but as herself. There was one night I came home to find Sophie asleep on our couch, Lily curled up beside her like a kitten. They'd both passed out watching some cartoon. Sophie had one arm protectively draped over her face soft, peaceful. Something in my chest cracked open then. Not in a romantic way, not yet, but in a real way, like someone had taken the chaos inside me and wrapped it in calm. And then came the night Clara grabbed my hand with a grip that surprised me. Her voice was weak. Ethan, I need to ask something. I leaned in, heart already bracing. Take care of her, she said. Lily, and Sophie too. I opened my mouth to speak, but no words came. Clara didn't mean it as a burden. It wasn't a passing of ownership. It was a request from a mother, a sister, a woman finally at peace. She saw something forming maybe even before I did. I promise, I said softly. She smiled faintly and closed her eyes. 2 days later, Clara passed away in her sleep. There were no screams, no sirens, just quiet. The kind of quiet that settles like snow on the roof. The funeral was small, just family, a few friends. Lily placed a lemon muffin beside the urn. Sophie held her hand the whole time. I held Sophie's. No one said the word future. It felt too soon. But what we did say through small looks, shared meals, and presents was this: we are here. And that was enough. Grief didn't leave all at once. It seeped out slowly, like a stubborn winter that refused to release its grip. After Clara's funeral, the world didn't pause. Bills still came. School pickups still happened. Work still demanded attention. But inside our little house, something had shifted. Sophie kept coming over. At first, it was just for Lily, to help with her hair, to read bedtime stories, to make pancakes on Sundays with chocolate chips arranged in smiley faces. But after a while, I noticed something else. She wasn't checking the clock anymore. She didn't glance at her keys when the night grew long. She lingered, and so did I. One rainy Thursday, I came home to the sound of laughter from the kitchen. Lily was perched on the counter in a flour-covered apron. Sophie stood beside her, a mixing bowl in her arms and a streak of batter on her cheek. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't romantic. It was warm. Lily licked a spoon and looked at Sophie. You should stay with us forever, she said simply. Daddy smiles more when you're here. Sophie froze mid-laugh, eyes wide, and then turned to me. I felt something rise in my throat, but I just smiled. Not a forced smile, a real one. The first one in a long time that didn't feel borrowed. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, I found Sophie out on the porch. The rain had stopped, but the air still held that fresh, wet smell. She was staring out at the street, arms folded. I joined her quietly. She's right. You know, I said, hands tucked in my pockets. I do smile more. Sophie looked down, almost embarrassed. I didn't mean to insert myself. I just wanted to help. You didn't insert yourself, I said. You showed up. You stayed. And you brought peace. She turned to me, then, eyes full of unchecked tears. I didn't think I could be anything more than a shadow. You were never a shadow, I said. You were the light we didn't know we needed. She cried, then quiet, chest shaking, tears not from sadness, but from the release of being seen. I didn't kiss her. I didn't need to. That moment wasn't about beginnings. It was about acknowledgement. that we were both standing on a foundation built by love and loss, and that maybe, just maybe, we weren't alone anymore. The next morning, Lily came running into the kitchen holding a crayon drawing. "Look," she beamed. "It's us." She slapped it on the fridge with a magnet. 3 stick figures, holding hands, under a big yellow sun. I looked at it for a long time. Then I looked at Sophie, standing beside me in her robe, hair messy, coffee in hand. She looked back with a smile that didn't need any translation. And just like that, I knew we weren't trying to replace Clara. We were building something new, not out of desperation, but out of the quiet kind of love that forms in the wake of sorrow, the kind that takes root when no one's looking. And when I wrapped my arms round both of them that morning, Sophie, Lily, I felt it fully, not just love. Home.